Hey everybody. So this is my video about what it's like to have a newborn baby and a toddler at the same time. So the one thing that was a lot different at first was I was so eager to get out of the hospital. I just had this like inner drive to get home and start my new life with my new little family, and it was really strange because like with Zayden I was fine with just being in the hospital for as long as I needed to be, but with Phoenix I was like, okay, get me out now. I want to be home with my kids. So the things that, first of all, that I found a lot easier second time around during the first couple of months. Things did change from this later on, but for the first couple months what I did find easier was that everything wasn't brand new. You know, when you have your firstborn child, you have never experienced a lot of these things, right? Umbilical cords, I don't know, like the different types of poop that happen, any rashes, the baby acne. None of that's new. You know what to expect. You know how to deal with it. Sleep deprivation wasn't as bad as it was first time. Again, I think it's because you know what to expect. You know that you're gonna feel like crap for the first little while, right? And that things change and that you will sleep again. So I didn't find that as bad. Again, as you know now, I'm not saying the same thing. But then, like, I remember the first month, I'd be telling my friends, oh, I feel fantastic. Like, I was on cloud 9. I wasn't tired at all. And I don't know if it was just because I was on a high from having my baby, or if it was because I was so tired at the end of my pregnancy that even with getting only a few hours sleep a night felt so much better. I don't know, but I didn't find for the first month sleep deprivation to be that bad. Second and third month I was feeling it, like I kind of hit like that brick wall where you're like, oh, I'm tired. But it didn't bother me psychologically as much because I knew that he's probably going to be my last baby, and a part of having that cute little cuddle bug, a part of that package is waking up frequently to feed them. So it didn't bother me as badly as it did first time around. You didn't have to buy nearly as much new stuff. Like, I still went out and bought, like after he was born, I bought new receiving blankets and new cloths. Shoo, bless me. Because I wanted some new things. Another thing I did is I ended up buying, well, for his newborn clothes I kept what I had for Zayden, but after that I ended up buying, once he grew out of the newborn, I ended up buying a lot of new clothes because I ended up finding that the clothes that Zayden wore were rather all of a sudden looking a lot older and worn than they had before when I had packed them away, or they just didn't look good on him. And it's really strange because you would think everything would look good, like babies can wear whatever they want, right? But certain things that I really liked on Zayden, when I put them on Phoenix, did not look good. So we've actually ended up buying Phoenix a lot of new clothes. The things that I found harder at first was nursing, because you don't just have the peace and quiet to nurse and have them concentrate and you concentrate, because you have a toddler there with you. I've heard that once you've had 3, it's a lot easier because child number 1 and 2 can go play and you can go lock yourself in the room or something and nurse. But when you just have the 2, I found nursing very difficult. Zayden would, poor Zayden, I think he did pretty good. He didn't get jealous of Phoenix, but he ended up getting quite upset at me, which was a shock. And I think it was a bunch of things grouped together. For starters, Zayden was getting his last molars. He was entering the 2s, right, because he had just turned 2, and he had a new sibling, and that's a lot of change for a little child to go through. So I think he did quite good. He didn't act jealous and act out towards the baby at all. He never deliberately tried to hurt him or anything. He took it out on me. But another part of the problem was, like, nursing was very painful for me at first. Well, it took me like 10 weeks to fully heal, right? So for the first few months things were very painful, and I'd be trying to nurse and Zayden would be jumping around me and doing things that he would just naturally do. It's just being a boy and being his age, and I would, out of frustration and pain, would be like, stop, no, don't, like all the time while you're nursing. And that was very hard on him, and what he ended up doing was he started to hit me, and I was able to relate the two because after a few episodes of him hitting, and I would try everything to get him to stop hitting, like I'd tell him no, we don't hit, grabbing his hands, and nothing seemed to work well. and then it would just go away, and then all of a sudden it would come back again. And I was able to put the two and two together, that, oh, it's when I start being more impatient with him and telling him no, don't, stop, too much, he starts to act out and he starts to hit me. And then once I stop doing that, he stops. So that was an interesting thing that I didn't think about, or I didn't know that would happen. We went for one of Venex's pediatrician appointments, and he said to me, like, you know, how's he dealing with it? And I said, well, he's taking things out on me. And he said to me that with 2-year-olds, not to discipline them in a sense. He goes, unless they're hurting themselves or somebody else, you just ignore their behavior, because he's looking for attention. He's looking to seek bad or good attention from you. So if you get into battles, if he's having a temper tantrum, if he's, you know, doing something that I don't like but isn't hurting himself or someone else, just to ignore him. And that was really hard to do, because again, when you're not getting your sleep, you're a little shorter with your patience, right? So, but once I started doing that, and once I started to just watch my behavior towards him with all my no's and don'ts, the hitting went away. You know, thankfully during all this, Venex was a very easy baby. I don't know how moms do it when their second-borns are colicky and fussy and need to be held all the time. That must be really, really exhausting. One thing I found hard too, that my doctor was amazing. Like, I didn't have any help. If you have any help when you have your second, if I were you, I'd take it. If you have parents that are retired, my parents both work, and I think that would have been easier, especially on Zayden, if we had some help. But what can you do? If you don't have it, you don't have it, right? Things that were different second time around. You don't get as much cuddle time with your baby. That I got a little sad, but you don't get to just cuddle them when they're sleeping or whatever. You're having to play with your firstborn. What I ended up doing was, after Zayden went to bed, Venex would, you know, say sleep from like say 7 to 10 or 11, then eat again. And during that time, I would cuddle him on me and he would sleep. So that's what we did at first to kind of compensate. But during the day, you don't get to cuddle your newborn nearly as much as you did first time around. You can't just leave your baby on the ground or on the couch or anywhere because of your firstborn. They love them. They may try to put blankets on them. They're used to playing and being able to throw balls and toys around the room. Like, they have no safety awareness of the child, right? So you need to get something that you could put the baby in, whether it's a bassinet or one of those seats. Like, we had one of those infant chairs. Those are great because, yeah, I could just plop him in there when I was cooking supper or doing laundry. And I knew that he was safe. And, but yeah, you can't just keep them lying around wherever you want them to be. You can't just catch up on your sleep with having a nap whenever you want. First time around, you can sleep when the baby sleeps if you need to. Second time, not so much. What I did is I ended up getting them to be able to nap at the same time. And how I did that was I would cuddle nap Venex, because babies often will fall asleep really easy with their mommies, right? So Zayden would go down, and even if Venex wasn't ready for a nap, I'd lay on the couch and I'd have him with me, and within 5 or 10 minutes he would fall asleep. And he got used to that. He got into a routine that, okay, at this time I'm having a nap with my mommy. And it was really nice. Again, it was nice because on two fronts, I could spend that quality time cuddling and holding Venex, and I got to sleep. So that's how I got them to nap at the same time. I highly recommend that. The other thing that changed second time around is when I was pregnant first time, people would always say to me, oh, just you wait. This changes, this becomes harder, da-da-da-da-da, right? And I didn't find that to be true. Second time around, yes. Laundry went up big time. All of a sudden, having one more person, the laundry is now crazy. It takes me a half an hour to get out of the house with 2 kids. I feel like I'm changing diapers all the time. Those things are funny, that all those little things that people said actually did come true. They're still not as bad as they make it, but that was funny. For Mike, I think the things that changed the most was he had to start doing dishes and cleaning the house, because in the first few months I was just trying to feed Venex all the time and I found the bare basics of feeding them, feeding myself, and just cooking and doing the odd tidy, and the laundry was enough for me because I was tired. One thing that I would do differently if I could go back was, you know how they always tell you to let the baby sleep with noise? I would do that differently. Venex is a light sleeper, and for the first few months I tried to get him to sleep in the living room, or like for his naps, around noise. I found I was spending so much time trying to get him to fall asleep on the couch so that he could get used to noise that it really inconvenienced the whole entire family. I was telling me to tell Zayden once again, shh, be quiet, no, don't do this, don't do that. He would start to act out. Phoenix wasn't napping very long, he was getting overtired. I think by the 3rd month I just ended up putting him in his crib for his naps, or was it the 4th month? Anyways, we'll get into that in the next video, but eventually I ended up giving up and just putting him in his room, and it went so much better. So if I could do that differently, I would. I wouldn't be so concerned about him sleeping where there's noise. But overall, I'd have to say the first 3 months were not my hardest.